It's
Welcome to the Heart Full of Hallmark podcast. We got another interview. I've never talked to this human being in my life before. I'm just kidding. It's Max McGuire. Welcome back.
Thank you, Noah, for having me. Nice to meet you, Kirsten.
Nice to meet you too.
And as always, I have my co-host Kirsten. Sadly, Amanda can't be here. She's at work, but we'll have her here next time.
Well, I'm sorry I missed her, and I appreciate you guys accommodating me, as I am currently in prep on a movie, and it gets hard to peel away, let alone have a life.
Mm-hmm. The life of a director. 3 films in a row.
If I complain, pinch me, Noah. I mean, listen, it's what I asked for when I was 18, and I'm 43 now. Doing my 32nd movie, I think. I can't remember, and 3 this year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I'm lucky guy.
And the new one airs on June 29th at 8 p.m. on the Hallmark Channel, kicking off the Christmas in July. Can you tell us a little bit about Falling Like Snowflakes?
Ah, yes. When I shot it, it was called Chasing Snowflakes, and Falling for Snowflakes. Is that where we're going with? Falling for Snowflakes?
Yeah.
Is it Falling Like or Falling For?
We should know that.
Falling Like.
Falling like snowflakes. That makes sense. It's a simile with falling in love and snowflakes falling. And it's about a photographer who's an artist, and she is tasked with completing the set by searching for a very rare snowflake, and she has to enlist someone she knows from her past and who has a specialty in navigating the rocky terrain, the wintry terrain of the mountains, to help her find the perfect conditions for that photo. And while on the road, they might navigate more than the rocky terrain as they figure out whatever may come in their future.
And this one, you have a lead who we've met many, many times, Becky Dalton. What is it about Becky that keeps you going back to her with your films?
Becky is like everything you ask for. I mean, she's got the humor, she's got the look, she's got the heart. She's easy to work with. She's always prepared. She's worked on a variety of these rom-com Christmas movies, so she gets the tone. And she's become a friend. It's our 3rd movie together. Her and my wife, I think, get along better than us. I came home from, I think, the last day of the shoot, and she was on my sofa sipping wine. I was like, what? I thought we were done.
Get rid of you. Leave.
Yeah. I was like, you're not being paid to be my friend anymore, right? And she's like, no, I'm here for Tony. So,
for her and the dogs.
yes, it was definitely a puppy Phil, and her dog Lou was here, and they had sadly lost their dog just before, and now they have a new addition to the family, so her family's growing, and her and James are awesome, and we're lucky to call them friends. She popped by my wedding last year, which was a year ago Monday.
Happy anniversary.
Yes,
Thank you.
anniversary.
It all just went by so quickly between the planning, the proposal, COVID movies. I think I did 7 movies one year, 4 or 5 the next. I'm on my 3rd right now. I mean, but by the time I look at it, I'll be done 20 movies in like 2 or 3 years. 3 years.
Well, I will say this. I'm happy you are healthy for this one.
Yes, I am happy, healthy, and lucky. Honestly, anybody who gets to do what I do is lucky, even if it gets tough some days and easier others. You meet great people. You get to talk to people who love these movies, and my mother-in-law is a big fan. She actually now reads the scripts before I even shoot them, tell me what she thinks.
And she's your harshest critic, I bet.
I got to be honest, she's not. She loves them. Like when I think there's an error, a structural error, she's like, no, I liked it. I like him. I like that. I like this. And so she really liked Falling Like Snowflakes. And I was worried because it was so technically hard because we didn't get a real winter in the Northeast this year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it was about chasing a storm, and I barely had snow on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
And so we'll see how the final VFX come out. I haven't seen the final VFX. And we'll see how that turns out and if it can follow through on the promise. But I'm pretty confident the team got it right.
Was the weather the hardest thing with this film?
It was definitely one of the lack of weather, and then it would go from it went from 15 degrees one day to minus 20. So over the course of 12 hours, people weren't dressed right often, or it starts the day minus 10, then it goes up to 10, and you're boiling and you're in shorts all of a sudden. But also because there was no snow and because it was mostly a day trip, it's a road trip in 24 hours.
Mm-hmm.
And so you were subject to, it's cloudy this scene, rainy that one, sunny that one, snowing this one. And yet you got to try to create a coherent movie that takes place over an arc.
Mm-hmm.
And the hardest part was getting the movie done in daylight hours, because in February, March, it's dark by 5 p.m.
Yep.
But we can't film until 7 or 8. And so you don't even have 12-hour days to try to get what you would normally get. And there wasn't enough night scenes to collateralize or amortize your days. So we shoot 12-hour days, but if you only have 10 hours of light, guess what? You're shooting 10 hours, but it's still the same amount of content you need on every other movie. And so you're doing everything an hour or two faster.
Mm-hmm.
Now you have the benefit of being outside, but, as I said, it's sunny. So now we're trying to block the sun. It's windy and they're meet cute. Well, I guess it's their second encounter. You'll have to look, but it was so freezing. They couldn't do more than one take at a time outside. Right outside the frame, we had the warm-up car set at 30 degrees Celsius. And then outside, it was minus 20 with blowing winds. And they'd have to go do their lines, run back to the car, go do their lines, run back to the car. I just had to keep the camera rolling because you lost time slating and starting the roll.
Mm-hmm.
So it was just really hard on them. The inability to acclimatize and get comfortable. It's such a big piece of performing, is knowing that your basic needs are taken care of. And so these poor people, lips were quivering, and then you got to act like you're okay.
So this film was a lot harder than your last film. Which was
Romance with a Twist was a joy to make. It was a summer movie in the summer. Didn't have to pretend it was winter. The actors could do the stunts. It was wild. This one just had the elements. And then, of course, because it's about chasing into the mountains, and Ottawa's not a mountainous region, we had to go find all the ravines and crevices and small ski hills. And so there were always remote distances. So no matter where you were filming, you were a half hour to an hour away from town.
Mm-hmm. With this film, you also have one of our lead star's best friends in Marcus Rosner. They've worked multiple times together. So what was it like on set with them? Was it like a brother-sister relationship, sort of?
Yeah, definitely. They definitely had a familiarity with each other. Their partners came into town. We all did my partner group dinner and had a laugh, a couple too many drinks, shared too many stories. And no, the beauty of that is that because they know each other so well, they're not always fighting for airtime to get to know each other. They've already gotten through the small talk. They already have a shared history. So it could just be chill. It was great. Good laughs, good jokes, not afraid to call each other out. And, sometimes too many laughs in between takes. We had to remember there's microphones on.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
maybe delete that joke.
Did you ever have to rope anybody in when they were going too far with a particular set break, sort of?
I occasionally, because they're both awesome professionals, but occasionally we'd be joking right to the line of rolling, and then it's okay, remember we're in a serious scene right now. we're in conflict. Oh yes. And then cut right back into whatever funny story they were telling. But I mean, listen, some actors can do that. They can go in and out of it. Other people need to stay in the zone and keep it calm. But that's trusting their abilities and trusting their relationship. And I think they're easy to follow and great actors. So it's fun.
What is your favorite scene in this film for you personally?
I think that frozen scene, because that actual weather and the wind added urgency. It was a 3.5 minute scene if you read it slowly, but the way they did it was 2.5, because it slapped right for the banter.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was my favorite. And It fit their tone. There was a natural conflict in the scene. It was visually beautiful. And, spoiler alert, actually, I'm not going to spoil that one. It's not in the poster, so I'm not going to. I have it. Hold on. I'm going to check the internet to see if it's already on. I'm going to check that one. Hallmark. What's it called? Falling Like Snowflakes.
Yep.
We're going to see because I can either spoil it or I can.
You're going to put a huge spoiler alert on the video.
Big letters.
It's there. They have it. And so, Marcus Rosner, his character is, they only got a piece of it, but if a discerning eye could follow it. And, no, I'm looking at there it is. So he has a massive snowplow.
Oh, okay.
And so, you get to see Marcus Rosner in the vehicle he should drive around in every day.
I bet he was right home.
He's an Edmontonian. He's Northern Gateway Films is his company. He's a rugged West Coast pioneer guy. If the film industry collapses, he's going to be fine. He's going to go build an oil rig or something.
He's going to be at home any place he goes.
Yeah, hunting buffalo.
Yeah. And my final question for this film. In your last film, Romance with a Twist.
Yeah.
Your wife made a cameo, a small cameo. Does she make one in this one?
She didn't make this one because the work hours were all daylight hours, which is when she works. Her mother did.
Her mother did.
Cool.
Her mother always does.
Yeah. Yep.
Mama D made focaccia for the whole cast and crew and extras in the final party scene.
Oh.
Yeah.
And I bet you she did the best job.
It was amazing. People sought her out, and then now she did it again on my Cindy movie, and I know she's going to do it again on this one.
And everybody is like, I'm going to work with Max just to get that food now.
They already get the pay, so now the differentiator is going to be what the perks are. Tony cooked ginger molasses cookies for the whole crew, and then Mom did the focaccia. I think next time it might have to be meatballs, because one year she did meatballs and focaccia, and I was like, whew.
Is she the best cook?
She's right up there. My mom was pretty awesome too, and I gotta be honest, Tony and I are pretty good cooks. Where the apples didn't fall too far from the trees we were raised in, and we cook every single night. We barbecue grill, we do vegetables and garlic bread and grilled halloumi and caprese salads with bocconcini and glaze, and we're not starving over here. We're lucky. We're very lucky.
And you have two phenomenal dogs that I know are spoiled like none other.
They do get to come to our coffee shop daily, and now our favorite restaurant down the street allows them on the patios too. So they get to go where we go most of the time.
Mm-hmm. And they're the happiest dogs in the world.
They're pretty rocking. I can't show you what my dog Lenny's doing right now, but assume it was biblical with his toy.
Yeah. Yep. He's having a moment.
He's having a time. He's doing some exercise.
Yep.
And then he turns around and looks at me with a smile on his face, like he's just a happy dog.
I have a dog who used to do that with a specific shirt.
Yes. Yes. Listen, it's a fact of life, and these guys are they're fun. They gotta have a life too. I wonder what goes on in their mind when my movies are playing in the background.
They're like, I know my dad shot this one.
Yeah. Look at the negative fill on that sheet. They're secret cinematographers.
Oh, look.
You know, Dad, you let that one get away from you. You let that one get away from you. That's funny.
So are you able to tease a little bit of the Cindy film, or are you under an NDA with Hallmark?
I'm under an NDA with my distributor. I can say it's one of 4 movies with interconnecting characters and stories.
And this Natalie one is a part of that series, I'm guessing.
Correct.
Okay. We will go no
We'll
further than
we'll get some of your favorites on the exact same screen.
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're going to be every single year, day one, once the schedule drops, I'm sure me and Kirsten, we're the first ones who find it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
The
we've been
first
looking all over. Like, I've been sending him different articles. Like, did you see this?
That's funny, eh? I love that. I think Cindy posted some stuff. I don't know if she posted a title or anything, but I know she did some posts regularly while we were working.
She felt so bad. She had her new film out, 2 or 3 weeks right before she went to shoot that one with you.
Yes.
And she wanted
Well, no,
to
it premiered while we were filming.
Yeah. She felt so bad. And I asked her, I'm like, would you like to want to try and come on? And she goes, oh, I feel so bad. I would love to, but I'm going to shoot a new film. And then I'm like, oh, that's perfectly fine. 1 week later, I'm like, Max posted Cindy on her story. That's who she's working with.
Detective Noah.
Which means that I can talk to her again about your film and get some stories out of her. I'm completely kidding. I'm completely kidding.
She is free to share whatever she wants. The world is better with information out there as opposed to secrets.
Exactly.
Hopefully I get hired again.
And hopefully you get to work with her again, right?
Yeah, she's lovely. She's a lot of fun. We actually knew each other socially through common Vancouver actors when I was making Foreverland in 2011. So I got to know her in 2012, and then we've been social media friends since. She was almost in one of my movies, Mistletoe Menorahs, but executives went a different direction. Then she happened to land another big movie. And so our paths have crossed 2 or 3 times because she would have worked with Jake at that time had she gotten that movie. And they would have known each other since 2018. Instead, they just great chemistry and them, by the way, as well.
And Jake, you've known for a good while, haven't you?
This is my 3rd movie with him.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, I'm having a whole bunch of repeat customers here. And what it really makes is the rest of the experience nice. Like, it's beyond just working together, having a good vibe and saying goodbye. You spend so much time together that it gets familial. Like, it's, you get into the weeds on life beyond current events, and you host for dinner, and the conversation's fluid, and you watch his baby grow. And same with Becky, you watch a young puppy, and then you watch sadly the backside of a puppy's life. And you meet their partners, and it's just really, in a game that can be really impersonal, despite us having to all be personal, it really just enhances the experience.
With Cindy, I saw you got to meet Suze. So how did Suze act with your dogs? If
Suze
they met?
Is famous. Suze didn't come to the house. Cindy said, she is a bit of a mommy's girl. And I had a new puppy that would have definitely wanted to wrestle with her, and she wouldn't have wanted to wrestle.
Nope.
So Suze is a princess. She got to wander the property. We were filming on like 100 acres, and so she would wander the property with Cindy, obviously not too far away from my site because it's the wild. There could be coyotes out there and everything else. And then we had another set dog that was a rehabilitated pitty that was just so sweet. And she'd come and give you kisses every day you walked up the driveway. And then it's too bad it was a Christmas movie because the property was so nice. You would have wanted to have filmed it as is in the summer or the spring. And it's like a 3,000 square foot log cabin from an actress's family I knew from 2003 on a short film. And I just reached out saying, hey, do you guys still have that property? And sadly, the mother had passed, who I loved then when I knew her, but she was like, yeah, my stepfather still owns it. Here's his contact. So I messaged him in LA. He sent me to his property manager in Ottawa, and out of nowhere, we're making a movie.
That's awesome.
It's awesome.
Every interaction you have in your life, you never know when's going to come back. And the fact that I remembered a cabin from 2003.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving away from the new films, we're going to talk about a couple of your older films, if that's all right with you.
Please, please. I love nostalgia. When you get to my age, half the fun is remembering what the question is.
So,
do you want to talk about Midnight at the Magnolia first?
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
Okay. So with that one, that was with Natalie Hall and Evan, and I was wondering what it was like to work with both of them together. That was one of my favorite Christmas movies.
Still one of my favorites to have made and worked together. That pair had chemistry.
Oh my gosh, it was off the charts.
Yeah, and that song was like a tearjerker. You felt like you were in Maggie's shoes, if not her coiffed hair. It was a fun movie. I think it was maybe my first Christmas or my second Christmas. I don't remember. It wasn't Christmas. It was a New Year's. Mistletoe Menorahs was my first. I'm actually working with the writer of that, Carly. And Carly, me, and Natalie had a meeting today. That was our script meeting that went long.
Oh, that's awesome.
So no, I mean, we were both referencing that, and we're talking about other projects, hopefully that we can bring to Netflix, Christmas movies and whatnot. And it was one of my favorite experiences because they were both so good, and they both like elevated, and Carly will admit, elevated the material, and they made it theirs. The hardest part for Natalie there was Evan is so quick and quippy and like plastic. And her character was supposed to be the more tight bund and everything.
Yeah.
Shoot the loose. And so I'd be like, that's really fun, but we got to remember who you are. And so it was awesome. It was a great experience.
That's awesome. Yeah, I love watching Evan. I don't know if you've watched The Way Home, but he's amazing
so
in that.
He's so natural. I mean, I gotta reach out to him and say, what else can we do?
Yeah, he's so good in that show.
Yeah, I think so.
Noah, did you have any questions about that one?
That was your first film with Nat, right?
Yes, it was. Yeah.
What was it like with her in that film compared to something like a Noah Next Door? What was the meeting like there?
So it was funny. She was so kind to me today. I worked with Carly, the writer, and then I do a director pass on the script. And then Noel Next Door was with Keith, who also wrote The Guide Dog. He writes Great Heart. But I just try to hone the script into its best pieces and trim away the outside stuff that maybe other execs or people wanted. And Natalie was like, she's so complimentary. That's what makes her so charming too. Like, she's the star and she makes you feel like the star. So she was like, I just love what you do to these scripts, and you kind of like narrow them down and focus them on the parts that matter. I said, well, these are hard to write. We got a lot of masters to please, executives, networks, producers, people that did a previous draft versus this draft. And I said, we all want our stars to shine. We shine when they shine. But she forgets that she's the biggest piece of that. Like, she adds heart in every one of her choices as an actress, and every piece, there's no throwaway lines. In Noel Next Door, even if she's just supposed to see the door open and him walk through, she's like talking to the extras at the table, taking an order, and then double takes and looks up and like feels the emotion of him coming through the door, and then goes back to the order, and then I'll get back to you, but then goes and that's not written. That's her building out the frame beyond what was on the page. And so I'm looking forward to doing that again with her.
What other films would you like to talk about, Kirsten?
With Noel Next Door, I forgot to ask this too. So I know that one kicked off Countdown to Christmas. So what was that like for you to be able to have like that first movie to start it all for Hallmark?
Surprising. And then that it did so well. It was a small budget acquisition for Hallmark. We were up against their network movies with their big stars and their big promotion. But what it had was like a real connection. It wasn't just a rom-com. It had issues, but that weren't overly serious, but that were serious. We didn't lighten them. It had conflict, which a lot of these movies don't have.
Mhm.
Obviously a divorce, talked about tampons. The
Mhm.
original draft, she was supposed to be a little bit shy about them. And then it was a woman in the office like, why is she shy? And I said, you're absolutely right. And so I said, instead of hiding them, she's like,
Mm-hmm.
happens once a month. Ever hear about it?
Mm-hmm.
In science class, whatever the line was. And like that line got called out all across the Hallmark universe as
Mm-hmm.
progress. And it was. I think it was a moment in progress for Hallmark now that you look back at it.
Everybody
that
lost
was
their
so
minds.
good. Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, and it's, you realize, oh, divorce, actively arguing with the husband, tampon, life. It's a little bit more reflective of life, even if it is the happy ending that not everybody gets, because it is a movie and we are trying to be aspirational.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And so, no, I mean, she took that character that could have been sappy, and same with Corey, and we figured out the right amount of, physicalization without getting into the borderline of offending anybody, while recognizing stroke is different than a mental illness because it affects everybody physically different, but with some common elements. But those are conversations you have. Are we really going to do the claw? I said, let's do a fist. We'll keep the cane. We'll add a limp. And he had some rehab that got him some, because he goes, I don't want to be, we're not trying to do 1950s Jerry Lewis here. And you don't want to be distracting from the story and the heart. It was enough that he lost his ability to do what he loved, which was play music, which made him the Grinch. And so, no, that movie, the rewrite on that was simplifying all the external actions, then refocusing it to them and the kid. And so I hope I bring the same magic to the new one with her, because
I'm
she's
sure.
she's like, I love what you do with these. I was like, I don't even know what I do.
But she knows what you do, but you don't. She knows what you will do before you do it.
I bet it's Machiavellian, and she's saying that, so I like double, triple work hard to make it worth it for her to come make a movie with her kids, just so I can stay on top of my game to keep up with her game.
So,
or maybe we just revealed who the manipulator is. Me, because I knew it. Anyhow,
do you think she'll bring the kids to this film shoot, or will they stay back home?
they're coming with her, and her mother's coming to help her. And so,
Okay.
she needs a squad, because when you go and do 13-hour days, you got to make sure your kids are in trusted hands.
Mm-hmm.
So that, again, one of those comforts I'm talking about for an actress. So, it's hard to be a working mom, harder to be a working actress with kids. And how do you validate the guilt of leaving in order to earn and be your best self, so you can be a good role model, but not wanting to miss major milestones, especially in young kids, but knowing that you also have to work, like as a human, to have your drive and your passion fulfilled.
Mm-hmm.
So I got tons of patience I did. Noelle next door, she just had her first kid, and she was like, I had so much brain fog on my dialogue, on my scenes, and she was so, thank you. I was like, no, you never would have known.
Yeah, you could never tell.
No.
So no, she's a professional.
Would you like to move on to the Yes Chef Christmas, Kirsten?
Yeah, we can move on to that one. I feel like that also had similar like vibes to Noelle Next Door, because you got like that real like rawness of like seeing how she was like kind of upset. She lost her mom in that movie, and then like going through and then finding her biological parents. Like it was such like a natural, like it showed you real life, which I really loved about it.
I love that too. You know who wrote that too? Carly Smale, who wrote Midnight at the Magnolia.
Oh, really?
And who's on these ones? No, she's awesome. I told her, I said that was it was one of my favorite scripts to read and work on. The only downside was there was so much going on that we had to cut so much out and simplify the story back to the main love story, which is what the networks usually lean on. Yep. But I'm like, the benefit of that one was you had the cooking competition, but it was secondary. It was about you had the search for the parent, her relationship with her adopted father, and all those things are what gave it outside world life beyond just being like, let's talk about snowflakes.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about snowflakes the same as the other movie, but it did. It added an element that separated it from the rest of the movies we made.
And also with that movie too, what was it like working with Buddy Valastro? Because I know he was on Cake Boss and all that.
No, he had a new show on A&E, and I was like on it because one of the episodes was about us making a movie about Buddy. So we went down to New Jersey, and I didn't know. I knew we were going to be in the background working on the movie. I didn't know they were featuring us, microphoning us, and us talking and doing retakes. And that's a wrap on Buddy Valastro performing for their cameras. And so, no, working with Buddy was great. I mean, listen, I think he enjoyed acting. It was fun. He is who he is on his reality show. That is his personality. That is the kind of guy he is. He likes making a Cake Boss pun. I think he ran a line. He goes, "Hey, it's okay if I do this. Like, you go out there and show him who's boss." And with a self-aware wink, because Cake Boss was on a different network than the A&E family, so we couldn't use Cake Boss directly.
Okay.
So no, I mean it was a trip. We went down to New Jersey. He sent us to his favorite restaurant down the block, and they treated us good and gave us some free dessert and a drink or something. And him and his family, they're all characters very familiar to me and my Greek Irish family or my wife's Italian family, and we had a lot of fun making that movie.
Yeah, that was really neat.
Yeah. No, it's nice to have content that really does step a little bit beyond what the normal Hallmark style is. And I think Hallmark's stepping beyond the Hallmark style too now. My friends across the street at the other company are making some interesting ones for them this year. Yeah.
We just had our second gay film.
Yes.
We had one with Jonathan in 2022 with The Holiday Sitter. In 2023, we had Friends and Family Christmas. Would you ever want to tackle a film like that?
Would love to, but I also know there's filmmakers who haven't had their chance, who are representative of that world, that would love to tell some of the stories before they become more mainstream. And listen, at the end of the day, when I talk to my gay filmmaker friends, my Black or Asian, obviously they'd like a chance to tell their stories, but they also would like to tell everyday stories as well for other people. So nobody wants to only do their own stories, but I think as they become more prevalent, it's an opportunity to set the watermark, ensure authenticity, be of the community. But I think eventually, hopefully, with understanding, we can all work on everybody's movies because we all bring something different to that same story. And so, as to would I? Absolutely. I mean, if I was welcomed by the community to do so.
So back to Chef.
Yes. What can I tell you about Chef?
With Tia, was that the most starstruck you've ever been with a single star?
I don't think I've ever worked with anybody with 14 million Instagram fans. That's a shocking number of people that watch her do her home videos with her kids. You're sharing. She's grown up on camera. She's shared her whole life between her sister and her on the series, to her food shows, to her online content, to her promoted content, to her Hallmark movies and Lifetime movies. So, yeah, I think it was like it took a second. She has an assistant, whereas normally my actors don't have an assistant. When we were setting up a pre-meeting, I was setting it up through the assistant, whereas normally I just call the star and say, "Hey, let's go grab a coffee and talk about the movie." And our assistant and her team are awesome, and they're lovely. We ended up having many meals together and sending them to the best pizza spots, and we had a lot of laughs too. And so, yeah, it was different. It comes with a different weight with the team, and she's an executive producer on the show, and so you collaborate in different. She was involved in casting the rest of the roles, especially on her family, and she was really pleased with the cast too. So no, she was a sweetheart and a consummate professional, regardless of what was happening in her personal life and in the world. And because her, when she sneezes, it ends up in People magazine.
Yeah, every single thing she does. But she not to say that anybody's small, but she's probably the biggest star you've ever done anything with, besides maybe a Amber Marshall.
Amber Marshall's up there too. She's got rabid fans. She warned me, and they're awesome. They support her, and they want her to be in love with her Heartland star. Obviously, on Foreverland, I worked with a couple that were like next level: Jason Priestley, Juliette Lewis. Damien Bashir, and they've been so long in the sun, they've come back around and they're just having a laugh now.
Yeah.
And so to be able to shoot the shit with Juliette Lewis about Cape Fear or something like that, it's like, you know, she was in like the Family Vacations, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation or whatever. And so like it's a different level of story when Jason starts talking about his Hollywood days in the 90s. And so, no. But as far as current, Tia, and even out of everybody, she probably has the most Instagram followers, which I guess is fame now too.
Yeah.
The other ones were too old to care about Instagram.
her and Luke.
They're great. You know, I didn't know Luke before the show, but he was so lovely, and he moved his family out to Vancouver. He has a child and getting by on life and we're all just trying to navigate a path that gets us closer to the goal. And so
That's right.
we get to cross paths with people that are doing what they love doing. And sometimes it's a job, but then you fall for the humans doing it as opposed to just the role or the art. So it's nice. It really is a treat to work in the industry.
For the last thing for Yes Chef Christmas, did you have a favorite scene to shoot? And did you have a favorite food that you got to potentially eat?
Oh my God. First thing we talk about the food. We hired a private chef who do the actual cooking. So, I mean, I ate that seared tuna. I ate the steaks. I ate the broccoli. I ate the scallops seared. I ate everything. It was understood that once the scene was over, Max was eating lamb chops. I think that scene where they did the cook-off and then presented the food, I feel like that was the most fun sequence. And then when she won, you know, you're rooting for her. Yeah. I got to tell you, the finale was shot on day one because we only had Buddy. So the whole cooking competition finale, when they meet their partners, and then the after finale, all the scenes with Buddy in the audience, everything was all shot in one day. We went like 2 hours overtime just to get it all done. And poor Buddy hadn't done filming hours before, so he thought, you know, as the guest star, co-executive producer, it was all about him. I'm like, no, we got like 6 pages to do before we get to you. Grab a coffee, have a nap, and sit back and relax. We'll come get you. And I think it was a bit of culture shock because on his show, he's in every scene, every moment. It's all about him. Whereas here we had the cook-off, all the other cooks. Like, you know, you don't change the world how you approach the shooting because it would set you back even farther if you went and just took care of the stars. And there was, you know, we're going to lose daylight and everything else. And so we're on the 9th floor of an office tower. You can't put lights out the window and create light again.
Nope.
And so it was a culture shock. And then we laughed about it down in Jersey. He goes, yeah, I was going to go up there and wring your neck. Trust me, I had it like right in front of my eyes that I know I got to get to your scenes, but there's a process. We had an order of operations to protect for the sun. Because there's no bigger star than that.
No, never. And it controls everything you do around the clock, every shoot.
Especially when it's daylight driven. I mean, as what was the biography, autobiography, Chasing the Light. Chasing the Light. Oh my God. Anyhow, it's a great book, but you know, even if you're shooting Gandhi at the end of the day, the light goes down at 7:00 on April 30th. And so you got to get it done.
Would you like to move into the most colorful time of the year?
Sure. What do you want to know about that one?
That's up to Kirsten.
Oh, okay. So I was kind of wondering what it was like to work with Chris Russell and getting to do like.
Are you asking because he's such a hunk?
He is one of the hunks of Hallmark.
He is one of the hunkiest hunks. Not only me, our whole team has ever seen. I got a machismo Italian electrician gaffer, and he goes, "Holy shit, that guy makes me feel like a child."
Yeah. Cindy said the same thing.
Superman jaw and hair. And he's like 6'3", 225 of like permanent muscle. So what was it like working with him? Emasculating.
Yep.
It felt this like, okay, I guess that's what a real man is like, and it made me
Mhm.
feel inferior. But no, the guy's a gas. He was very complimentary at the end of the show. He's like, I'd come and do another Max McGuire movie. And I said, I guess that's a compliment. Thank you, sir. And Katrina was lovely too. I mean, again, my wife and I hosted them. Chris was unavailable to make it, but they ended up cracking open the expensive wines and having a laugh. And my wife's phone's full of selfies of her and the hot girl from 30 Rock making jokes all night. And so it's surreal sometimes,
Mhm.
but it's fun.
That does sound like fun.
Yeah.
Has she ever geeked out over any star, or who do you think she's the closest friends with? Your wife, I mean.
I'm gonna laugh about this because, well, she's closest friends with Becky. They just get along, and if they lived in the same city, I'm pretty sure they'd be tied together at the hip, and I'd be poor because they'd spend it all. They like good food, good wine, good trips, and nice handbags. But she geeked out. We were in Los Angeles. I was having lunch with Jonathan Keltz and his wife Laisla, who he had told us about this big show that they couldn't publicize, and that ended up being Lioness for Paramount that his wife got. And I had worked with Clark Bacco on Falling for Look Lodge or Love at Look Lodge, depending on what they called it. And so Clark came to lunch, and she brought a new partner. And we introduced, he was in music. I knew nothing about him. I thought he was a DJ. And then my wife's texted me under the table. She goes, that's Justin Mizuna. I used to listen to his album all through high school. And like, he's so talented, this and that. I was like, tell him. We're literally talking to at the time, like the Lioness hadn't come out, but she was in Lock and Key. And they were talking about having a series released in COVID. So they never got to go do the big press tour, press junket, and feel like the stars of a Netflix series, and how people sometimes stare at them. And initially, like, what's that girl staring at? And then 2 seconds later, they come over and ask for an autograph. He's like, oh, okay. I said, they want to know. They don't even know sometimes that, we're all unsure if what we're doing lands. And so I said, tell them. So she's like, I'm sorry, I got to stop this conversation, but I listened to your album every single day through high school. And he was like totally chill about it and laughed and said it funny. He thought he was in the room full of the other stars who were all the actresses. But meantime, Tony was like texting her brother about him.
all the big stars, and it was just him.
Yeah. And so because, you never know. It's what people attach stardom to, what affected them emotionally when they watched or consumed something. And so that was her coming of age and an album probably between breakups and everything else. And so I think that meant something to her.
What about you? Who's the star who made you the most starstruck, who you haven't got to work with?
Oh, who I haven't got to work with. I was going to say Juliette Lewis was an experience.
I bet. Oh, I bet.
That was like, she is exactly how she sounds in interviews and her shows, and she kind of talks with her mouth and looks up, and she's like, I love this script. We showed her. She goes, you made me cry twice. And Max Theriot and I, we sung the Dire Straits Juliet song to her, and she cried at the craft table. You don't know what you're doing to me. And then we showed her the 5-minute sales trailer before the movie was done. It was going to Berlin. And she goes, it's just like how I read it. And then she goes, can we rehearse in sequence, even though I know we're going to shoot out of sequence? And like, we went from the doorway to the entrance to the dinner to back out the door. And like, people on the crew were like crying watching her perform. Unfortunately, this is a story about filmmaking that isn't the happy ending, but I learned a lot. We had a circular dolly set up, and it was just the floors were creaking. The techs couldn't figure it out. They kept asking for more time, but it took 2 or 3 hours. And so she went and sat in her trailer. We only had her for 12 hours. And she sat in her trailer for 3 hours and going like, what's going on? Like, why aren't we shooting? And so she went from that rehearsal of like a 12 on 10, and she is a motion-based performance. And she came back out, and we had to get the engine running again and again and again and again. And then we got back to where she was, but she kind of like, I think she's done enough that like she lives so much like on her feels that she was going off a feel and gave us that rehearsal that was like inspiring. And then I did her a disservice by making her wait in a trailer for 3 hours while my guys tried to figure out how to accomplish the shot I was asking for. Now with my experience, I'd be like, I don't care, just point a camera at her, capture that.
Yep.
There's no camera angle or camera trick that's going to make that better. That is for dollying up a boring scene. A good scene, you could just do this hot and just watch it. And that was a lesson I learned in hindsight.
What about for one star you haven't worked with?
For a star I haven't worked with. Ooh, good question. Let me think. I mean, I would love, I don't have the content yet, but I would love a shot at like the ones that they call difficult. I don't think they're probably difficult. I just think they're intense, like your Christian Bales and people that are just going to know more about everything you're talking about than you do.
Yeah.
That would be like where somebody is where you're so scared of looking like you know nothing that you work triple hard just to keep up.
Say like a Leo or a
I would say like a Christian Bale or a Tom Cruise even, or a, like people
Tom
like,
Hanks maybe.
Oh yeah, just people that would be a lesson to even exist next to for a minute.
Yeah, just for a second.
Those are the ones I'm like, yeah, if I can like any of your like dust that comes off your back, if that lands, it might make me a better filmmaker. Those would be ones, but I also know you don't even get to that sphere until you've done something that they've recognized you as a peer. There's filmmakers, then there's filmmakers.
Yep.
And so I know I got to earn my spot at a table before they even read my script, let alone come upon it. So yeah, that would be a dream to get to the luck to create something that makes them come to the table, even look at it, let alone work on it.
For the last film, for this interview, would you want to talk a little bit about the newest film from January, Romance with a Twist? Just because I know that Kirsten has some questions about that one.
Yeah, shoot. You ask me the questions, I'll tell you anything. I love that movie.
Okay. With that movie, was it difficult to film like the aerial scenes?
If we didn't have Jocelyn, who took it upon herself 3 months before the movie to learn the aerials, and we didn't have Olivier, who had 10, 15 years before done some circus performing with ropes, not silk. So he doesn't know anything about silks, but he at least had physical awareness. He goes, Max, I was like 50 pounds ago and 10 years ago. He's a big, bulky muscle guy now, not a lean, svelte, acrobat. But we taught him to do that front flip like in 7 minutes, and he learned. I couldn't have learned that in 7 minutes. And she did weeks of training, months of training on her own time, just so she could do it. And then she didn't want a stunt double. We had doubles to show them the routine and for him to do some of the stuff in the finale. But then to be able to get them on the ropes and doing the splits themselves and having eye contact while up there. Like I was worried we were going to have to shoot it from 50 yards away with doubles through the backs of the head so that you didn't, whereas I got to go right in there. So yeah, I mean, that as a rom-com, that had 14 stunts. Every time you get on the silk and climb it, that's a stunt.
Yeah.
That could have slowed down any thriller, let alone a rom-com. And then you still have to get all that dialogue and coverage and big, pretty sets and light it beautifully and not just. And so I got to work with my oldest collaborator, Christian Beals, cinematographer. And that was a real, I got to bike to and from work for like 10 out of the 14 days. It was filming all in neighborhoods near my house. And because it was daylight driven as well, we're biking at sunset or sunrise and then biking home at sunset along the river. It was a treat to make that one.
And do you have a favorite film that you have made to watch? Or does your wife or maybe your mother-in-law, what's her favorite film of yours?
This is full circle. It was Midnight at the Magnolia.
Yep.
It just ticked all the boxes of hitting the feels while being real, while being fun, while being cinematic, while the story matching the setting, matching the actors, matching the script, all of it That's the potion, and that film was in a bidding war with Hallmark, Lifetime, and Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
And then Netflix won the bidding war, and it was right before COVID. And then we had an audience, a built-in audience, and it became, not many times you can say your movie was a top 10 in the world on a major streamer.
Yep.
And so, it's funny when we were making it, sometimes we go, are we going the Hallmark direction or the Netflix version of the acting? And the actors know the difference. And so are we going to find the heart and the happiness even in a heavy scene, or are we going to explore the human feelings? Had I known it was going to be Netflix, I think we could have push some of the scenes a little bit harder and push the conflict a bit harder, but we didn't know. We were making it for the Christmas movie audience, so the edit decisions are based on that, and the directorial decisions are based on that, and either way it worked out. That's my favorite. That's my wife's favorite. That's my mother-in-law's favorite.
And do you have anything else that you'd like to ask, Kirsten?
That was all the questions that I had.
Okay. Max, thank you so much for coming on. It's such a joy to talk to you every single time. Great dude. Check out all his films. And as we're talking right now, Midnight at the Magnolia is still on Netflix. So if you watch this interview, I want you to go there and watch it and give it a love this on the thumbs app.
You guys are too kind. Thank you for having me and continuing to support my career, our movies, the genre, and all the actresses and actors we work with. We don't get to make movies unless people watch them. So
we love them. We love them. They are a happy place. So for us to talk to everyone who makes them makes our podcast a lot more fun and makes us watching the movies a lot more enjoyable.
You're involved. You become part of the process. So thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yes,
thank you guys. And thank you guys for watching this. And we will see all of you guys next time. And as always, keep your heart full of Hallmark.